I say to this day, and I do it based on my reaction. Obviously, this is personal. I say it's the greatest knockout of all time. First time I ever stood up, I couldn't sit down. I was standing up. I was just like, oh!
I saw that. I saw you stand up. That's the first time.
It was just, what?
At the end of the last 6 rounds with AJ, in my opinion, he won 4 of them. People argue that he at least won 3.
But will you take care of me forever and ever?
When Anthony Joshua finally delivered the devastating 6-round knockout that brought Jake Paul's run to an end, Joe Rogan's live reaction summed up just how massive the moment felt across combat sports. Rogan, who had repeatedly warned about Joshua's fight-ending power and the risks Paul was taking, reacted instantly as the punch landed. He framed it as more than just a stoppage, suggesting it could stand as one of the most violent and unforgettable knockouts the sport has seen, given the scale of the matchup and the force behind the finish.
Come full steam ahead 100 miles an hour, or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided.
The fight, officially billed as Judgment Day, was scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight division, with Anthony Joshua entering as the overwhelming favorite due to his experience and physical advantages. Joshua stood 6'6" and weighed roughly 243 pounds, compared to Jake Paul's 216. After a cautious opening phase, Joshua gradually asserted control. He dropped Paul multiple times in the 5th round before closing the show in the 6th. At 1:31 of the round, Joshua landed a crushing right hand that sent Paul to canvas, prompting the referee to immediately wave off the contest.
Anthony Joshua. Paul was sturdy for the first couple of rounds, but as the fight went on, the more experienced Joshua began to take control. After continuously connecting in the 5th round, it was only a matter of time before it was over. In the 6th, Joshua went on to knock out Paul with a big right hand. Joshua improved his career record to 29-4 now. Paul loses for the 2nd time in his career.
The Anthony Joshua-Jake Paul matchup became one of the year's most discussed fights, not only because of the star power surrounding it, but also because it highlighted a clear collision between classic heavyweight boxing and the modern, social media-driven influencer era.
Performance by Jake, brother.
Come on, bro. He's a fucking legend for that. He has such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outcome. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world, so I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times?
No, it was sick.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
The guy knew so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
He showed a ton of heart, right? What's next for Jake Paul? Where does he go?
Joshua, a former 2-time unified heavyweight champion, stepped into the bout as a clear favorite. Paul, a content creator who transitioned into boxing, had leveraged his massive online following to draw significant attention to the sport, even as purists questioned his legitimacy. Still, there was little expectation among experts that he could realistically handle the power and experience of an elite heavyweight.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was going to win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end. So I watched all the pundits talking about the fight, even Rosendo, my boxing coach. I was like, does Anthony Joshua represent boxing? Everybody from that world felt like Anthony Joshua was representing boxing. And as the fight started to go on, first off, he was representing boxing, so they wanted him to get the job done. All right, first and foremost. You can't lose to a guy that's perceived to be a YouTuber, even though today, Jake Paul is more boxer than YouTuber. I've said this time and time again. When you have resources, when you can spend $1 million a year on training camps, housing, food, coaches, this is not recreational anymore. He's a boxer. He's just not a boxer at that level. I ran into his brother in New York City, and I said to Logan, what parameters are in place, Logan? what safeguards do they have to make sure that Anthony Joshua doesn't hurt your brother? He said there are none. He goes, they're going to just straight fight. So in that regard, you got to give credit.
Following the bout, Anthony Joshua offered a candid assessment of his own performance. While he secured a 6th-round knockout, he admitted it wasn't his sharpest outing and felt he could have delivered a stronger showing. Joshua acknowledged that he had difficulty landing clean punches early on and took longer than expected to cut off Jake Paul's movement. He described the result as a victory, but not a complete success, stressing that there's still room for improvement as he moves forward.
Better is a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or...
Even after the stoppage, Joshua took time to credit Jake Paul's toughness and determination. He noted that although the fight ended with a 6th-round knockout, Paul showed genuine grit by getting back to his feet multiple times and continuing to push forward against a far more seasoned former world champion. Joshua added that very few fighters would willingly step into the ring under those circumstances, and that Paul's refusal to quit, even in difficult moments, earned his respect.
AJ's won 6 rounds. He kind of dismantled him. He took his time. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe, because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness, because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean, I know
he broke his jaw.
Yeah, I know it knocked him out, but he was not unconscious. You know, I mean, look, he may not come back from it. If he has broken his jaw, it's a big injury to come back from.
Well, there's pictures of him in hospital right now.
Well, listen, you've got to respect him, because he did what many people wouldn't do, which was get in the ring with him. And, you know, he didn't... I know he run and hold, but he also let his hands go at times. And he was in the firing line, and, you know, we got 6 good rounds in the end of actual work.
Is that how you see it in the end?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive, because, you know, we could have gone in there and got it all over with 45 seconds. He's done an 8-week camp, and now he's done 6 rounds. He's got something to go back on.
Jake Paul sustained a fractured jaw during the 6th-round knockout loss. After Anthony Joshua landed the decisive right hand to end the fight, Paul was seen with visible damage to his mouth. In his post-fight interview, he said he believed his jaw had been broken, a concern that was later confirmed.
Logan, what's up, man? What's your reaction to it?
I'm just so proud of him. My mom has it.
Your brother fought his ass off, man. I mean, other heavyweights have taken that right hand and only took 1.
I'm just so proud of him. That was incredible. In my view, that was a victory on all fronts.
Right.
Like, minus the actual victory, obviously, of course, but bro, like, no one expected him to last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet, who's 40 pounds heavier than him and 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet. My brother, as a fucking YouTuber, went 6 rounds with him in a fight with a broken jaw and rolled ankle. I'm so proud of him. That was just unbelievable.
I saw you talking crap to AJ at one point.
I was trying to get his head. I think I pissed him off. I was just saying fuck that shit. I love AJ. But bro,
I saw you going on the fight game.
I was talking so much. But I just pissed him off. Then he broke my brother's jaw.
Jake leaned into his trademark confidence after the fight, posting a defiant message alongside an X-ray image of his injured jaw. He joked, "Double broken jaw. Give me Canelo in 10 days," referencing scans that confirmed fractures on both sides of his jaw. Despite the severity of the injury, Paul reportedly drove himself to the hospital for treatment following the bout. Early estimates suggested a recovery period of roughly 4 to 6 weeks, and he later shared additional images and updates online, thanking supporters while confirming the extent of the damage.
Nikita, just down here, jet free from the sun. Just to follow up on Jake, he said he broke his jaw in the aftermath. Has he gone to hospital? What's the health update on Jake?
Yeah, we think he broke his jaw. He's fine. We met with Netflix afterwards. He took a shower. He drove himself to the hospital. A broken jaw is very common in sports, particularly in boxing or MMA. And I think the recovery time from the doctors and surgeons we've already talked to is...
Nikki Sabai-Darian spoke positively about Jake Paul's effort, highlighting his toughness, stamina, and commitment to the game plan. He said Jake performed admirably against one of the most dangerous punchers in the heavyweight division, and even suggested Paul may have edged a few of the early rounds. Baidarian stressed that the defeat wasn't due to a lack of skill, but rather the stark physical disparity between the two fighters. Joshua's size, strength, and heavier frame steadily drained Paul's energy, allowing the former champion to land increasingly powerful shots that eventually produced a knockout. According to Baidarian, Joshua's physical dominance was a decisive factor, and despite the loss, Paul's performance still warranted respect.
That's what happened. And ultimately, Jake Paul lasted a lot longer than anyone said he was going to. And I haven't seen the official scorecards. I don't know if anyone else has, but I think he might have won a round or two or even three. He was doing tremendously well in there against a person who is vastly more skilled, vastly larger, vastly more powerful. And he did it on 4 weeks preparation.
What would you like to see next for Jake?
I'd like him to take a beat, relax, and then think about when he's gonna fight next. You know, we talked about June, July timeframe. He loves the sport. He loves MVP. He loves the athletes. He loves giving them platform and push. This young lady right here, the whole time when I was talking to her, I said, what do you think? She goes, Jake's gonna win. I believe in him. He can do whatever he wants to do. That's the kind of family that we're building at MVP. It's a fighter-first organization. You guys saw our weigh-in yesterday. That stuff costs a lot of money, but we want to put on the best brand for these fighters to show the world.
Critics have argued that the gap in size, experience, and ability between a former heavyweight world champion and a social media personality turned boxer was simply too wide, turning the matchup into spectacle rather than a true sporting contest. Many have also raised safety concerns, pointing out that facing an Olympic-level heavyweight with genuine knockout power exposed Paul to serious risk, a concern underscored by the broken jaw and multiple knockdowns he suffered.
I mean, first 2 or 3 rounds, a little bit frustrating because you've been out of the ring for a year and a half and you've got a guy that's just running around the ring and, you know, you can say you've got to cut him off, but when they're moving at that kind of speed and they're holding up close, but his clinching was quite good, Jake. Like, you know, listen, you know, I'm not saying he's going to go and win a world title, but he just fought Anthony Joshua and went 5 and a bit rounds. So, you know, respect to him, and it was good to get some rounds in, to be honest with you. He's got a new team. If it would have gone 45 seconds, maybe people would have been more impressed, but we wouldn't really have got any ring time. So we've got that, and now it's a case of when we're at next.
You described Jake as average a few years ago. What's your assessment of him now?
Decent. If you listen to what I said in the build-up, I said he used to be average, now I think he's decent. And the same. I think he's like a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. Top 50, top 60 cruiserweight in the world. So, yeah, and look, you know, like I said, I hope he's okay. 4-0 to Matchroom over MVP. We're friends now, so respect to him.
Any message for
Fury? Listen, we'll see you.
Experts argue that crossover matchups like this risk eroding the sport's credibility by prioritizing spectacle and pay-per-view appeal over genuine competition, suggesting the fight was driven more by hype and entertainment value than by true athletic substance.
Fair play to Jake Paul. He has a lot of guts, and the fact that he wasn't carried out of this fight on a stretcher, you know, certainly I guess you can say is a positive. But what did I think about this? What did I think about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Look, it felt like Anthony Joshua carried him. It felt like Jake Paul brought in as much of a negative anti-style as possible, circling away, constantly holding Joshua, constantly falling to the ground. Again, while you're certainly going to give respect for the YouTube star turned fighter for having the guts to put on this type of show and to stand in there for as long as he did until a clean right hand in the corner when Paul was absolutely exhausted, dropped him and ended the fight. This is not elite boxing, and we knew that coming in, but if these fights are going to be sanctioned as official fights, like the Mike Tyson fight from last year, like this one, how much longer is the appetite for the fan going to be there when this is such a bad look overall for the sweet science, the sport of boxing, which, you know, cannot get out of its way anyway.
Several fighters gave Jake Paul credit for his toughness, noting the courage it took to face a former heavyweight champion and remain in the fight until the 6th round despite a major gap in size and experience. They pointed to his resolve and willingness to keep going, even though the bout ended in a knockout. Eddie Hearn also commented on the performance, though with a more restrained perspective. He acknowledged Paul's durability, but emphasized that the final outcome was never truly in question. According to Hearn, few realistically expected Jake to last long against someone of Anthony Joshua's level, and reaching the 6th round spoke more to his ability to absorb punishment than to any technical advantage. He suggested the fight ultimately highlighted the clear divide between crossover personalities and elite professional boxers, reinforcing that while lasting several rounds was noteworthy, Joshua's experience and power were always going to decide the contest.
Joshua being taken 6 rounds by Jake Paul. We're in the aftermath here. The press conference is going on behind us. We're yet to see Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua out here. Ak, you were ringside, you were around the whole fight. People are complaining that Anthony Joshua may have embarrassed himself in there tonight, letting Jake take him 6 rounds.
It's ridiculous. Anybody that saying that doesn't know anything about boxing. First off, if you see how Jake was moving and clinching the first 3-4 rounds of that fight, you would understand. It doesn't matter how bad you are. If a fighter in front of you is destined to not get hit and not get knocked out, it's almost impossible to knock that guy out. When Jake was okay with exchanging and trying, even he was exhausted, he said, I'm gonna try, that's when AJ was there to land the shots. AJ did what he's supposed to do. Not easy to knock a guy out that's surviving, you know that.
Yeah, I do. I wondered early on whether he didn't have a lot of adrenaline and he was walking Jake down. Jake was making himself small and moving away. And AJ said, you know what, I'm gonna take my time here and marinate you.
Exactly, listen, when a guy that's moving like Jake, that's inexperienced, you're going to gas out. I knew it for after half the first round. If Jake keeps moving like that, he's going to gas out in 2-3 rounds. And I noticed that AJ said, okay, I'm gonna let him run around, right? People are screaming, cut the ring off. Let me let him run around and gas out. Once he gassed out, what happened?
After the fight, Ryan Garcia sparked conversation across the boxing world with a blunt reaction on social media. While he acknowledged Jake Paul's willingness to step up, Garcia didn't hold back, drawing a pointed comparison to Gervonta Davis. He suggested that Davis would have dealt even more damage, implying the fight could have ended faster or more brutally. Many analysts echoed that sentiment, arguing that the matchup itself fell outside the bounds of elite boxing. Even in the aftermath, criticism continued, with some observers maintaining that a fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul never should have been made at all.